Ladies and gentlemen, welcome on to 2000 Atmospheres, and for a very exciting matchup here. I, of course, am TitanOnFire, and I'm so hyped to bring you this match, which, of course, is from the DreamHack Winter Season Finals, the Grand Finals. This is it, one final best of 7 to decide who is the best player in this event, and in the bottom left-hand corner, it's Maru. And in the top right, from Dragon Phoenix Gaming, it's Rogue. Now, both Maru and Rogue are incredibly storied players, of course, in their careers. And neither of them really, I would say, had an easy run to get here to this finals. As Maru, of course, did have to make his way through Dark in the round of 8, which is definitely a hard matchup. Because I would say Dark and Rogue, while stylistically not the same, are a very similar caliber of player. Just in terms of recent form especially, they are very much, I would say, kind of even with each other. And then, of course, Maru had his match against Clem. Again, Maru demonstrating his masterclass in TVT. Rogue, however, made his way through Serral in his first round match, a very close 3-2, and then also a 3-2 against Scarlet. So, Rogue did actually have a bit of a harder path. Had a bit of a tougher time. Very close matches that he ended up playing, and eventually has found himself into these finals. And when I talk about Maru and Rogue being storied, it's not just with how long they've played, because the first time that these players actually faced off in a professional match was in 2014. That was 7 years ago. But it's not just that, it's also with how successful they both have been. Of course, Rogue, GSL champion recently, is his most recent achievement, is being the GSL champion, where he actually beat Maru 4-1 in that GSL Season 1 Finals. However, outside of that GSL Finals, in 2021, it has actually been Maru who has had the upper hand in most events. In the SC Boy World Team League Finals, when it was DPG versus Team NV, Maru did get a 2-0 over Rogue in the best of 3 that they played, or the set of 2 that they played. And as well, you have the most recent event, which is the Asus ROG Finals. Both these players made it to Asus ROG 2. They made it into the finals, and in that finals, which was an incredibly intense match, you did have Maru getting the 4-2 victory. So it's actually historically been Maru who's had just a slight edge in this matchup between Rogue and Maru. It has been the Terran, who I believe right now is sitting at about 56% versus his opponent. But you also have to factor in their current form. Both these players, I think, right now, at the top of their game. Absolutely. Both of them playing extremely well. And, I mean, it goes to show, again, back-to-back finals for both these players in major or premier events. Asus ROG, now, this season finals. And it really is exciting for what we're going to see out of both of them. I know that I'm very hyped up for it. And, you know, there's always crazy stuff, because both these players are absolutely capable of, bringing out the aggression, bringing out the cheese, and also very capable of going into the supreme late game. In fact, that's sometimes, depending on the map, where they prefer to go, depending on the game state and all those different variables. But we do have Maru poking out with 2 Reapers and a Hellion. This is your just standard poke. Shouldn't be able to get on in. Oh, Rogue a bit late there with the Lings and doesn't have quite enough to get the full surround, so Maru's going to try and find his way on in. Does end up sacrificing the Reaper there, but the Hellions will get on out. Finds a few Zergling kills, but that is about it. Does also have a Cloaked Banshee on the way, so this was a double gas opener for Maru. Usually you have been seeing Terrans go for just a single gas. It gives you a faster third base, and especially if you're not expecting aggression, it is a good opener. However, I think it makes sense that Maru does play the safe piece. Rogue is a player who's very willing to go for roach pushes, and you do see that layer going down with the additional gas for Rogue. And that was how Rogue beat Maru in that GSL Finals, was just roach aggression. 1-1 roach push after 1-1 roach push. So I do like Maru just playing a bit more safe here. Again, he'll be going up to 2 Banshees, has the cloak on the way, and also getting up Stim. That third CC will be following up, but it's just going to be slightly later than if you did open single gas. Of course, Rogue on the other side of the map, perfectly already ready for this. 3 Spore Crawlers are being constructed. You have the one in the main, each with a queen to support it. This just means that, well, it's not, Maru should not get a lot of drone kills. You know, you might get 1, you should not get really any more than 2 to 3 drone kills, depending on the control of the Zerg. You do see Maru gets the first one, is just going to be poking around, and ooh, that is a cool position for Aspire from Rogue, actually, as we're going to see a second kill there from the Banshee, but I really do like that, as there's a second Spore going down in the main base, but Rogue is pocketing Aspire by his natural, not in a position where you would really scout it out unless your Banshee immediately goes to the natural base. If it goes straight across the map from Maru's main to Rogue's natural, you're not actually going to scout that position right below the natural hatchery of Rogue. So for now, that hatchery is going to go unscouted. Now you still have the Banshee aggression coming on out. So far, 4 workers gone down for 2 Banshees. It's decent damage coming out here from Maru. Again, still poking around with units. Ooh. Focusing here, the drones on the gas is actually going to get 6 total drone kills. And now, one indicator here for Maru that you should be paying attention to is the fact that you do see that there are 6 gas taken. Now, even when you're going for roaches, of course, you will have 6 gas when you're fully saturated on 3 bases. But there really isn't much sign of roaches. If Rogue was going for that unit, you would have a few out for defense in case Maru, was poking around with a larger group of Hellions. So it's very, very possible that Maru has an idea that this could be Mutalisks. It's a style that Rogue does like to go for and mix in every so often despite being out of the meta. But we'll see if he's ready. Now, it's going to be a push here from Maru, looking to go across the map onto the left flank. But you have the 9 Mutalisks already on the way, and this really isn't timed up quite right with the upgrades from Maru. You see the 1-1 for him has started. It is not done yet, though, even when Maru is getting onto the creep of his opponent. Now, he's going to stim on in, should be able to clear up these few active creep tumors as well as getting an Overlord to supply block Rogue. But you already have Banelings on the way. Now the Mutalisks have been revealed. Maru is just going to stim back away from the Zerglings, but again, the Mutas just completely crushed that push, and Rogue has absolutely no trouble dealing with that. The Baneling run by on the other side is cleaned up, but now the Mutas, 9 of them already out, 2 more on the way, are just going to try and push this across the map. So many Marines got killed there by that Mutaflock. Widowmine's going to go down. They don't even fire, though. And Rogue's just actually rallying units across the map. He says, Maru, what do you have in your base? It's not a lot. Maru just doesn't have any units. He's having to fight with his workers at the 3rd. Oh, the friendly fire from the Widowmines is absolutely brutal. And Rogue's just doing so much damage right now. 10 SCVs go down. You still have Mutalisks hanging around in the main, just camping the production. More Marines going down. I don't know if this is a situation that you can recover from, even with Maru going for more damage here. Rogue's taking a 4th. Rogue is just going to start to snowball this lead. That Widowmine shot is good, but you need something more, as Morlings are going to come down. The 3rd base should be forfeit. The Widowmines aren't even going to be able to go on up. There's just nothing left for Maru. The production cycles weren't there, and Rogue is able to catch him out with the Mutas. And as the rest of the Marines popping out of the barracks are killed, as the Widowmines go down, really does not feel like there's much here for Maru. He's fighting with SCVs against Zerglings. That's never a fight you want to be taking, as the rest of his mineral line will start to fall down. Rogue, a solid timing here in game number 1. Should be able to take it, no problem. GG is called. Rogue takes game number 1. And one interesting note to fact right now, I was looking at actually the win rates of both these players. And I believe right now Maru is actually sitting at around a 60 or 70% win rate in almost all of his matchups. Maru's TVT right now is at in the past 2 to 3 months, I believe, is actually at a 100% win rate, which is insane. But even with that, Maru's TVP and TVZ are also sitting around that high 60s to 70% win rate. And again, just goes to show Maru's in great form, but Rogue is also matching that. Rogue right now is also in incredible form, I believe, also for Rogue. His ZVZ, I would say, is probably the one where he kind of goes back and forth the most. You know, when Rogue is on form, he is usually very, very dominant in ZVT, especially. And I think right now he's sitting around a 60-70% win rate in this matchup. So both these players, you know, again, incredibly on form right now. They are both looking very, very good, and so it's going to be exciting, especially with Rogue taking that game 1. Again, has shown the Mutas, and just with how the meta is right now, Mutalisk is a style that you're not probably going to go immediately, like every single game, like you might have used to. In the past, it was definitely a unit composition that everybody was going. It was just the standard Ling, Bane, Muta. But it's started to fade a little bit out of popularity. You'll still see it here and then, as we saw in game 1. You know, it's good to mix in, but it's just not good to go every game, especially when lurkers are just so solid. They're the much better choice for a standard macro game. Especially to deal with late game Terran, or mid to late game Terran. Lurkers are a lot more consistent of an answer than Banelings when it is coming down to a straight micro battle. Now, from Maru, we are going to be having a little bit of a difference here on the opener. Has opened double gas, but is actually starting with 3 barracks. So, it is going to be a bit of bio pressure here to start off the game. The 3 racks opener, it's another one of those builds where, again, this is all about your build variety. In a series, especially in a best of 7, you need to mix in a lot of different builds and openers. And Maru, so far, is going to be doing a pretty good job of that. The 3 racks, it offers you a lot of pushing power early. If the Zerg doesn't expect it or doesn't scout it, it can get a lot of damage done. If they do, you have to be very careful, because there have been so many games where you have a Terran going for that 3 racks, you know, push early on, but the Zerg scouts it, just gets a critical mass of units, is able to completely crush it, and then snowball the game from there. So it is a build that is very, very dependent on scouting and how aggressive you're being with your stims. You're not going to have any medevacs with this push for Maru. You're not going to have any medevacs because your factory is so delayed, because you need that additional mineral income that you can't really afford to just place down a factory, even if you have the gas for it. And so you're not going to have any healing on those Marines. Once you stim once with the 3 racks, that is permanently life gone from your Marines. So usually what you'll see Terrans do is they'll try and walk up as far as they can with the Marine Ball, get as much damage as they can with just a regular stutter step, and then as soon as they actually need to kite back Zerglings, that's when they'll use their stim. And we'll see how Maru ends up capitalizing on this. As the Marines are now going to come on down, you have stim and combat shields on the way. The Overlord will see all of that, just hanging out there on the pillar, just saying, ooh, look at this, I get a little light show for myself. And also, I get to see all these Marines, which is quite a bit. Now, the NG Bay and the factory are, of course, the follow-up. You're going to want your +1. And with this opener, you have enough gas that you can absolutely afford to expend a little bit to get your upgrades started. What is Rogue's answer? Well, additional second gas being placed down there in his main, 2 Evo chambers, and so far just Queen production, which is not quite what you want. You need some Lings to deal with this. Queens are good, but at this point in the game, your Queens do not actually have the energy to properly have enough transfusions to deal with this stim bios. Maru gonna activate that first stim now and going into the 3rd base as he realizes there's just nothing here to try and stop him. Immediately focuses down the Queens. The Zerglings just run into their death, and Maru diving on top of all the units. Queens go down. He can continue to fight this, doesn't use the second stim because he doesn't need it. He's just continuing to march on forward. Queens are going down. 22 Lings come out, but Maru has found so much damage with this push. He might just get another Queen here as the Lings try and stream out to save it, but there we go, the snipe. And sure, the Marines get cleaned up, but Rogue has no more Queens available for him. And that's just that's such a massive slowdown for the Zerg right now. Because again, you're having to expend more minerals, 300 minerals right now tied up in just replacing 2 Queens. You're not going to get down additional creep tumors. You're not going to get down additional injects, and there's no transfusion energy being built. All in all, that's the damage that you want from a 3 racks, is the Zerg. And I mean, that was even with Rogue. I'm pretty sure that Overlord can absolutely see the move out, just not respecting how much damage those Marines can do with stim, and not building enough Zerglings. Now, you do have this double drop moving out. I believe that might have just skirted by the vision of the Overlord, but a Ling will be able to scout it. And Maru will just drop it off. No more surprise with this, so he will just be using it to try and pressure, perhaps clear up creep tumors. And if Rogue gives him, again, another opening like he did with that 3 racks push, try and dive into the mineral line. And this is all with +1 finishing up. So these Marines are just going to be a little bit stronger. Rogue does have his +1/+1 on the way, as with Ling Bane. It is customary that your upgrades will be generally in time, if not a little bit ahead of the Terrans. As the Zerglings able to stop that drop from really getting too much done. And Maru is actually even preparing a second set of double drops here to come on out. And he might be looking for a push. That's 2 tanks, another set of 8 Marines. it's a really strong army coming out from Maru with the +1, with stim and combat shields. This Terran force that's going to kind of meet and rendezvous here by the 3rd base is going to be so strong. Now, Rogue, look at that counterattack. So many so many Lings and Banelings getting set up, but now Maru, he's going to abuse this high ground, and this is actually a really nice position. I don't think you can quite hit the hatchery. Oh, you can? That is insane. That's such a good tank spot right now, but here we go. Banelings are going to roll on, and Rogue, he's going to go for the counterattack. He's going to try and win this game, not by facing the army head on, but by facing it via proxy. And the Banelings are going to roll in, and all the SCVs are clumped up. He's there trying to fight. Maru's going to have to evac his Marines up to the high ground, but the Banelings are just going to crush through those supply depots. And at the same time, what is Maru doing? Well, he's just trying to hold back the Queens by his tanks, but it's Rogue in the main. Banelings trying to get on top of these Marines. They'll finally find the connections. SCVs will start to go down. No, the Zerglings have been cleaned up by the Marines popping out of the barracks. Maru's just stimming on in. Maru's killed the 3rd base. And sure, 13 SCVs go down, but Maru's pushing up to the natural. Mortlings are coming out, but Marines being produced. Marines gonna be able to fight. SCVs need to be pulled to try and hold this right now for Maru, as it is a base race. Another hatchery goes down. Oh, the Banelings, the pickup from Maru. Gets out, loses 21 workers. But Maru has 3 CCs up right now. And Rogue is actually struck down to 2 bases. So sure, it's 51 to 35 workers. Rogue can't use all 51 of his workers right now. He just absolutely cannot, as Maru's actually just going to turn and try and fight this army. He says, you don't have enough, Rogue. I'm just going to drop out of the medevac, focus fire down the Banelings. One finally gets a good connection. But now the rest of the army's coming out. A Queen misrallied, will die. Are there more Banelings for Rogue? Only 4 on the way. There's only 2 on the map. Look at that, resources lost. Maru trading just so well here in this game. And well, Banelings trying to roll in. Maru splitting away. Maru, oh, the splits are beautiful. GG, we're tied up 1-1. And that game too was just absolutely all down to the fact that Maru, of course, found so much damage with his 3 racks opener. Usually, that's an opening that, again, if you scout it out as the Zerg, you do have to produce Zerglings to deal with it, but 20 or so Zerglings will absolutely crush it. Of course, you can probably get away with maybe just adding on 12 more, you know, on top of your additional 6, but you want to get up to around 20. Rogue did not do that. I don't think he really respected how much damage can come out from the Marines. Only had 6 or 7 Queens, which without transfuse energy especially, again, we just saw Maru immediately as soon as the Lings were down, stutter step forward and killed all of Rogue's Queens. That just set the Zerg so far behind. And so even though, you know, Rogue did make a great move though with that counterattack, even though he made, I think, the best decision that he can in that scenario where he's saying, all right, listen, I'm actually just going to counterattack. I'm not going to face the army head on, and I'm going to try and kill your base, and then maybe I can recover enough and build enough units back at home that I can come in with both those armies and fight it. It just didn't work out. Maru had enough production, was able to use the SCVs especially to fight the Zerglings surprisingly well, and then the units rallying out of the barracks eventually cleaned up the Zerglings. So Maru handled it well, had I think was oversaturated, in fact, even at that point, so it was only at 35 workers or so after that, and then of course getting 2 hatcheries. The Zerg's production is just so stunted that even if Rogue had the money, he couldn't really produce enough to try and fight the follow-up from Maru, and that means that we've had 2 very, very quick games. An 8-minute game, and I think that was around 9 minutes and 35 seconds for that last game, so a very, very quick affair here in the first 2 games. But we're on to Berlingrad, which should lend itself to a little bit of a faster, or a little bit of a longer game, not faster, as Maru has 6 Lings out as opposed to the usual 4, now 6, I believe. Just with how good Reaper Micro is, a lot of pros do just end up going for 6. If you're trying to cut corners, you can sometimes get away with only 4 Zerglings. But then of course, you do run the risk of not having enough actually HP on those Zerglings to tank the Reaper shots, and you end up losing them. And it just ends up being wasted money. So, Rogue keeping all those alive, very well done. Gets the Queen out. First Creep Tumor already placed down. And as I said, Berlingrad. This map lends itself to the mid game, it's not a map that like Glittering Ashes, of course, where you're gonna say, oh well, on this map I'm obviously gonna go 35 minutes because there's so many bases to take. No, that's not the case. But it does have, of course, a very nice high ground position to the side of either third base. It can be vulnerable if your opponent comes in from both sides, but it does, especially for tanks, allow a really nice siege up position. And so usually you'll see most games on Berlingrad will get up to 3, sometimes 4 bases, especially in this matchup, as well as TPP. But even with that, it's a relatively small map. It's relatively wide open. The rush distance is fairly straightforward. It is just straight across, almost natural to natural if you get rid of that 5 mineral patch that is sitting on the ramp. And then it becomes a very short rush distance. So it's not the largest map, again, like a Glittering Ashes. Now, Maru, poking around again with the Hellions, this is just standard, does have 4 Marines and a medevac that are going to be brought down. Actually, only 3. I believe usually is 4. I don't know if he lost the first Marine. Yeah, only has 3 out. But this is just it's kind of a standard push, but you do have the armory there going down behind it, so it is going to be Hellbats. A bit of a variation on just poking with the Marines and the Hellions to try and get some Queen kills instead, bring in the Hellbats. We'll see how much damage this can get done for Maru as Rogue. Already taking some pretty serious damage onto the Queens, but Roaches are out now. Zerglings are looking for a counterattack across the map as the Hellbat's just going to look to go straight on into the mineral line. Maru trying to commit on in. Oh, but he's just going to lose so much as the Roaches come out. Picks up 2 Hellbats, and that's about it. And now the Lings are going to get on into the mineral line. Hellions are out in time to try and defend this, and there we go. A nice lineup onto all 4 of the Zerglings. Should only lose the single worker, but now it's this counterattack by Rogue. There is a Banshee out, but I don't know if Maru has quite enough to deal with this. Ooh. Catching the Zerglings out actually is pretty massive. Those Hellbats got really nice shots onto the Zerglings, weaken them up, and so Rogue will just pull back for now. But once again, we see a Hellbat attack. Once again, we see a Terran player commit the 150 minerals, 100 gas to the armory, and it just doesn't really work out. And I understand it's, the thing is, like, again, every caster is going to say this, and there's the 10% of the time where the Hellbat attack works out, where you find the damage that you need with it, and you actually manage to get game-winning damage. But for the most part, it just does not feel really worthwhile. As Maru here is going to go on in with the Hellions. We'll see if it's a transformation, but no, it's just going to be the Hellions trying to roast and toast, to barbecue up these drones. Already 6 of them going down, now looking for a lineup onto that clump, getting 9, 11 drones. And the follow-up ends up doing more damage than the actual initial attack as the Hellbat transformation forces away the Lings, but the Roaches are quick to follow up. They're already there to help clean it up, and a Nidus network on the way for Rogue. He's going to get crazy. Oh, the scan from Maru! Oh, that timing. Rogue's not happy about that. that's a Nidus network you put down on 3 bases. Or you're like, oh, I want to kill my opponent. Yeah, immediately cancels it. Spire goes down. Rogue now going to completely reassess what he wants to do in this game and switch gears as the 5th and 6th gas go down. Actually, no, my 4th and 5th doesn't have the 2nd one as natural. But Glio Reconstitution and the Spire, and there we go. 6 gas on the way. So, Maru actually sends down another scan. He says, wait a minute. If I scan your Nidus, are you just going to tech switch? And he calls it perfectly Rogue with all the information in his hands right now. And Rogue trying to push here with a few Roaches. There's a tank out, but it's actually out of position. It's not even sieged up. Rogue might just find an opening here. Maru is going to bring the Marines down. Has Stim finished up, but it's still Roaches. They fight so well. The tank was picked up. Now going to be dropped back down. Maru should have just enough to deal with these Roaches. Again, Roaches, they are a very tanky unit, but in a straight up fight, their DPS is not the highest, so they will be chased away. The Banshee, of course, being brought back. I believe only the single Banshee out. I don't know if Maru lost his first one. Yeah, did end up losing his first Banshee, but has the 2nd one there to help push it away. And 1-1 will be finishing up for the Terran fairly soon. Is sitting ahead in supply right now. Maru even on workers with Rogue, who still has not taken a 4th again. Rogue wanted to 3-base all in. Rogue wanted to Roach Queen, Nidus across the map, end the game. The scan went down. He puts down the Spire as an answer, and now is getting 2 Evo Chambers. Rogue is actually really almost stunting his own economy because he had to switch gears, because he had to kind of reevaluate what he wanted to do with his build. And that just means that right now Maru is actually in a really, really good spot. Only down 7 workers, has a nice army that's pushing here, has the tanks. He's going to just stim on into the Ravagers, but the 3 Biles go down, able to clean up the first tank. Now the Queens are here. Oh, Siege Tank getting a ton of damage down. The Roaches are going to start to fall, and actually Maru catching a reinforcement here on the back side of the fight is going to keep trying to stim this through. He thinks he has enough damage, has to back up, catch up with his reinforcements, but he's going to keep pushing the issue. He thinks he has enough, and he's absolutely right. These Roach and Ravagers, there's not enough of them to really fight these Marines and the tanks. The Queens are going to get focused down. Rogue just might barely have enough to hold on. Maru backs up. Yeah, +1/+1 on the way for Rogue, but it's not going to be done for a while again. The Spire, was it canceled? Wait a second. No, the Spire finished. It's just such a strange thing because again, Rogue had Roaches and Roach, you know, Roach Ravager Mutalisk. It's not a bad composition, but it was so much money invested by Rogue to not be used. And even if, you know, you force your opponent to build like missile turrets, it's not bad for the Terran, and so that's why you're seeing this massive upgrade difference right now for Rogue, as Maru is gonna have 2-2 finished by the time 1-1 is done for these Roaches. He also might have his +1 ground weapons done by the time the Hydralisks come out, as Maru is gonna look for a stim on in here to the 4th base. What is there to defend it? There's not much. That's just a dead hatchery. Maru finds the opening, finds the damage, gets on out with absolutely everything. And Rogue, well, I mean, do you even commit to a counterattack here? You really can't. Maru just has so much army. He's going to be working on his 2nd factory, so that will be double tank production, of course, to help deal with the Hydra Lurker. But again, it's 2-2 for Maru right now. He's 6 workers behind. He's going to be adding on a 4th base. And he's actually going to get that mining faster than Rogue's 4th because of that snipe. And Lurkers aren't even ready yet for Rogue, so he can't, you know, try and just max out and kill Maru until this Lurker Den finishes up, until the Vipers are out. And even then, it's going to be unupgraded Lurkers. It just feels like right now, Maru is in such a good spot this game, Rogue. Really just not finding much of anything right now in this mid game, as Maru's just stimming on into the natural. He says, wait a minute, I know an opening when I see one, as he's splitting fire here. One batch trying to fight the Roach Ravager, another one focusing down the Spire. Spire, of course, wasn't being used, but Maru gets rid of it for later in the game, as that was a good snipe onto the medevac. 8 Marines there, gonna go down, but still. Killing off the Spire is nice, you know, even though it wasn't being used. It means that Rogue has to rebuild that if he wants to get into Corruptors or any sort of late game Spire units. He's not going to have that option. It forces Rogue right now to actually go into Lurkers, and that's exactly what Maru is prepared for. He already has double tank production. He has +1 for those tanks as well. You know, Maru is ready for Lurkers. He's ready for Roach Ravager. You know, the Corruptors and, you know, Broodlords and adding in these Spire units would throw a wrench in that, but Maru's just stimming on forward. He thinks he has enough, and well, the abduct onto the first tank. He's going to re-split his Marines now as he's moving the tanks forward. Has to be careful. Lurkers are now out. Maru is going to be able to see them. Will the scan go down? Another abduct. Oh my! Rogue just grabbing all of the tanks. Only 2 more are left. Or sorry, 3 more are left as another one sieges up. Another 2 more abducts going down. Rogue being absolutely brutal right now, stopping Maru from getting these siege positions, but now the Viper energy is out. Now he's gonna have to move forward. Corrosive Bile goes down. Maru, he's just stimming on in with Marines into Lurkers. He has no fear, and Maru's actually gonna clean it up. GG. I always have that moment where at the start of the game, I'm looking at where the players are positioned. And of course, I see that the observer is focused on one player, you know, maybe say the top right. I'm like, okay, that's where Rogue is. And I look and say, all right, well, how is this oriented? And my brain, for some reason, takes a second to recognize the fact. I have to organize my thoughts to know top from bottom and left from right. And so I always have that wonderful moment of orienting myself, seeing Maru in the bottom, but I'm introducing Rogue before I can gather my thoughts. And so I say that Rogue is actually in the bottom right when I mean top right. These are first world problems right here on the Alpha X YouTube channel. But with that being said, Maru takes a solid game 2. Rogue, again, looks like it looked like he was making the right moves for sure at the end of it. The Vipers were obviously a good choice. They allowed him to get the abducts onto the tanks, which were the biggest threat in that position. The only real issue was, of course, that Maru was just so far ahead, you know? And again, it goes back to the fact that Rogue is preparing to do an all-in there. Rogue is ready to pull the trigger, has the Nidus Swarm halfway done, the Nidus Network halfway done, and Maru scans it. And you really can't commit to that once it is found out, because the entirety of that build is pretty much dependent on the Terran not knowing that it's coming. And so Maru scans it, Rogue has to switch gears, and he puts down the Spire, which again, you're already canceling the Nidus Network, puts down the Spire, that's another 200 minerals and gas, and then just doesn't use it. And so it was just, that game was a lot of Rogue actually just kind of being a little bit inefficient with money. Again, the Spire going down, that is going to delay your Lurker tech, it's going to delay your additional bases, because then you also stop to get up a solid Roach count to defend. And it just meant that Maru just was straight up doing what he usually does, was able to out macro Rogue in the long run there, take the good engagement, of course had the 2-2 finished up as, oh my, that's not supposed to happen, as Zerglings find their way on in here to the mineral line. Now Maru does just stutter step back, has the, of course, the SCV pull, and so it's not going to get much damage done, but not supposed to happen. Rogue, now with complete information on the tech, sees that there's no actually tech labs or reactors on the barracks or the factory. That usually is going to give you a pretty big clue that Maru right now is not going to be preparing for any sort of like Banshee or fast Banshee, anything like a large group of Hellions or a Hellbat attack, and so it's just nice there for it is nice for Rogue to just get that information. Is now going to be able to pretty comfortably just drone up onto 3 bases. The single Hellion has been produced, of course, for Maru. It's for scouting. You're never going to get any damage with this single Hellion, and so you're just going to use it for information and to be across the map and to see what you can, to see especially how many units the Zerg is producing. If you can get a clue as the Terran onto if the Zerg is swelling a large amount of lings, as we do see actually 14 Zerglings on the way for Rogue, while Maru is moving out with 5 Marines in and a Widowmine in this medevac. Rogue does have 2 Queens positioned and actually completely ready for this. And so I don't imagine this will get much damage done. We'll see. The Widowmine, of course, will be dropped first, but we're just going to drop onto the low ground, see if he can snipe the Overlord, but the Queens able to push him back. They're a good unit. They are a very good unit. A lot of health in those, in the Brood Mothers, as, there we go, Overlord. Maru's going to try and get it. Refocus there with the Widowmine. Oh. Okay, drops out the Marines. No! Oh, 6 HP. Devastating loss for Maru as he's unable to kill the Overlord, but all in all, these openings not really having too much of an effect on the game. You'll be seeing Maru just with a standard transition, though. 3 racks to have the stim pack on the way, 5 Marines. Tank production has already begun, and, you know, one of the major differences that you actually see between a player like Maru and someone like a Clem is that Clem much more readily will actually embrace and go for Marine Marauder Mine, where he adds in Widow Mines to his composition, you know, pushes multiple positions at once with 2 decently sized armies and uses those mines to trade. Maru, very much not so much. Maru feels a lot more comfortable going for the tanks right off the bat and adding those in, and then if the Zerg is going for Lingbane, then he might add on Widow Mines with his second factory. But usually it's not the first unit he will add in there. As here we go, Maru. Again, just trying to poke a little bit. Hellion, Widowmine, Marines. It's not a force that's meant to kill anything. It's a force that's meant to just try and get a bead on what Rogue is going, as well as trying to force out a little bit of a response, and it has managed to do that. Rogue does have additional lings on the way, of course, with that 4th base not finished yet and still coming up. Rogue is just focusing on this timing where around 6:30, around 7 minutes, that's when you should be having your additional units coming out. The Baneling Nest isn't done yet, so it is just Zerglings, which might be a bit worrisome because you have a tank push coming out here. Now, there's only a single Widowmine with this push, so that means that you're not too worried about splitting your Zerglings. You just need to get the first shot off, and then as soon as that happens, you can commit on in here with the Zerglings. But it's a very large army for Maru right now, actually about even on army supply with the Zerg, as here we go, Maru committing on in. Oh, the mine shot is massive, and this choke point with the tanks by Maru was actually brilliant. Is gonna have to back up eventually, picks up the tank. Marines will just walk away, but gets a great trade there, just army for army. So you'd love to see there for Maru, the micro. The targeting especially on point. And now he has +1 finishing up, has the combat shield, so that's additional HP onto these Marines, and additional 10 hit points onto each of them. Doesn't seem like it makes a lot of a difference, but when you have a lot of Marines, it starts to stack up. So here we go, Maru stimming on in. That's a very low hatchery. There are a lot of Queens, though, with a lot of energy. Now you have Banelings ready. Rogue just looking for this round. Maru's gonna have to pull on back. The focus fire, though, onto the Banelings. The Lings are all getting cleaned up. Maru, that micro was almost impeccable, as these Marines are just gonna stim down the Queens. And Rogue tried to commit on in, but he was absolutely punished for it. The 4th base is gonna go down. Maru really abusing that tank position where he creates almost his own choke point with the tanks. And then as well, the Bane focus fire. The rest of the Banelings getting caught behind the Queens. Now this is a bit aggressive here from Maru. You should have to pick up. You can't go in that deep, especially with that second round of units coming out from Rogue and with the 1-1 finished up. But Maru is just going to reassess. Has already landed his 3rd and found the damage that he wanted. Again, it was a very, very heavy committal for Maru. Went for the early 3 racks with the stim and combat shields upgrades. And so when you're going for a build like that, you absolutely need to find damage. You need to kill that 4th. Ooh, I love this Widowmine position here from Maru. It might be in detection range of the Spore, as that one is finally moved there in range. As the first shot goes off, gets a few lings. Second one onto the Queens, shouldn't get too much damage. But you do have Rogue looking for a counterattack now into the 3rd base, and Maru just gonna have to evac the SCVs. Medevacs fly on over, and they're gonna get the heck out of dodge. Oh, that Widowmine shot. Rogue didn't quite pull back fast enough, and actually the rest of that army, as it's retreating, gets caught out by Maru. It's a 30 supply lead right now for the Terran. We're 9 minutes into this game. Right now, Maru, equal on upgrades, is not going to be that way for long. Again, Ling Bane, you should be getting your upgrades faster, especially with the opening that Maru went for, where it's 2 base for such a long time, and your gas is spent on those tanks, and on the fact that you have to get up your stim and combat shields together. So, you know, it's going to be 2-2 Ling Bane here for Rogue, and that's very, very strong, as Maru is going to be pushing into a fairly weak position here with this group of Marines. Not many units here for Rogue. Banelings rolling on in. Oh, target fire not quite there. It's a counterattack actually for Rogue. Are there reinforcements in time for Maru? No, all of his armies across the map. He's trying to attack in 2 places at once, and he now knows that the army is not at home for Rogue. He's going to be able to kill the 4th base once again. He's trying to push down the 3rd. That should not be allowed to happen. That's going to get cleaned up. The medevacs are going to have to boost away, but Maru gets so much damage in return. 38 SCVs go down, though. Rogue finds the counterattack. Oh, and the Ling splits. So well done to make sure that those Widowmines don't get any more damage done. And suddenly this game is absolutely thrown for a twist. Maru was up 30 supply, you know, pushing with 2 armies, trying to get damage done. Rogue says, listen, again, I'm not gonna engage your main army. I'll take one of these small chunks, but I'm not gonna just fight you head on. I'm gonna go for a counterattack. I'm gonna try and get damage. Now Maru looking for a drop on in, but there's 2 Spore Crawls already here, and the Queens. Oh, that's almost a full medevac going down. Maru gonna have to try and save the Marines. Will be able to with the medevac. And so far, I mean, it is about a 2.5k resources lost difference. Make that a bit more as Banelings are used on supply depots. It's up to 2.4. Gets only a single SCV as Maru is, again, just continuing to try and poke around. And it's absolutely what he should be doing. Even without... Oh, Baneling landmine. Get some decent damage. But even with Rogue finding that much damage, Maru still has a very large army. And so as long as he's able to push around the map, as long as he's able to harass, especially this Liberator, maybe seeing how much value it can get done. Gonna add on a 10th drone. As I believe, is it a second Liberator that's been pocketed behind the third base for Rogue? Yes! 13 drones go down with this harass. This is some great moves here from Maru to try and even up the damage again. He lost 32 SCVs, and yet still at 43 workers, only behind now 8. And he's even up the upgrades. He has 2-2 finish, has 3-3 on the way before Rogue. His Rogue right now is trying to make, of course, his Lurker transition. Rogue is getting ready to get this massive amount of Lurkers ready for this late game. So that means that Maru, he should have stabilized, and that's, I mean, it's just absolutely insane after how chaotic these first 10 minutes were. It really does not feel like, you know, that's possible. Maru has done it, and Rogue is now going to look for, once again, another counterattack. Oh, the Planetary Fortress isn't done. That's so many SCV kills. As the whole mineral line goes down, Widowmine shots being wasted on singular Zerglings. Maru has to pull back his, I mean, all of his army has to come back. Loses 16 workers. Isn't able to be across the map. And that's just a win for Rogue, who has the Lurker Den on the way. Has, of course, muscular augments there for the Hydralisk. Will give them a bit of a speed boost. The big timing here right now is that +3/+3 for Maru. Once that comes through, this bio is so much stronger. You even see 3 more barracks going down. Of course, the Planetary Fortress at the 4th. You want to see Rogue here take a 5th base pretty soon. He's now at 62 workers. He should be mostly stabilized. Oh, mine almost got a shot off, but Rogue should have. Oh, oh, the landmines are so good here from Rogue, just burrowing. You know, just Banelings just off in these strange little locations where Maru might not quite expect it, but it also closes off these counterattack paths. Oh, that's a kill. Rogue didn't get a cancel off because Rogue right now is actually focusing on a counterattack once again. Lings trying to flood their way on in. That's going to be a tank going down. A lot of bio ends up dying. That tank on the high ground should be able to get some value, but it's more workers dying. Already 60 SCVs have gone down. 60. Rogue is finding immense damage right now with these counterattacks. And still, it's only about, I mean, an 18 worker difference. Now, it is quite large because, again, Rogue has been able to, after the Liberator harass especially, establish himself very, very comfortably onto 4 bases. But if you're Rogue, you want to see a 5th here. Now, it's 11 workers on the way. That will be the next stage of the game for Rogue. Is Maru ready? It doesn't really feel like that. Only just now have Marauders started with Concussive Shell, so Maru doesn't have a very large Marauder force just quite yet to deal with these Lurkers. And so even though you have 3-3 Marines, they don't really do that well, even with those upgrades. Zerg, Lurkers, very strong. They shred through Marines as Maru has to get on out. And you have +3 Carapace as well, as the Burrowedlings there in the natural will be finally dealt with. But the +3 Carapace for Rogue is coming through. +2 attack for these Lurkers, as they are going to be starting to siege up on top of this base. Rogue just going to lift on up. And now you also have the Lurker counterattacks. And this is where this game starts to get very, very annoying for Maru. You don't have Ghost Out. You just don't have Ghost Out just yet. Again, Maru has committed so much to just this Bioforce, and a lot of his money has been going towards upgrading it, towards getting out a comfortable enough number to be able to fight the Zerg. It just didn't really have the disposable income to put down the Ghost Academy. Now, it should be added on fairly soon here. Again, it is just Marauder production right now from Maru. So you want to see that Ghost Academy go down once he has a solid count. As here we go. Maru's actually just going to stim on in. Focus fires down 2 of the Lurkers. The middle line shots are good. The Banelings aren't going to be able to roll in. This is a beautiful concave from Maru. The splits seem like they're just good enough. The Marauders are here. The 3-3 doing so much work for this bio against the 2-2 of the Zerg. The Lurkers are going to start to go down, and Maru, who says you need Ghost to deal with Lurkers? Just do it with bio. An insane fight from the NV Terran. And he cleans up all of the lurkers. No more on the map. That is... Who needs ghosts? Just micro like Maru. You don't need ghosts if you can do that. 2 more lurkers on the way, though, are going to be trying to help and defend this follow-up push here for Maru now that he knows that he's been able to clear up so much of the tech here. For Rogue. Rogue committing on in. Ling Bane trying to roll on in. These splits, though, for Maru are so good. It's just singular Marauders branched off to try and get these baneling detonations. Finally, Maru is going to have to try and drop his units back with the majority to fight, and he's just continuing to take trades. Rogue is trying to fight, but again, it's 3-3 bio. Unless you have that just massive lurker count fighting with your Ling Bane, the 3-3 bio just trades so well, and that was the big difference in that last fight. In all these fights is that the lurkers haven't been able to get shots off with the Ling Bane. They haven't been able to get, the grouped up bio, which is where it's weakest, but now we have Rogue rolling in, should finally be able to take a decent trade. But again, Maru, the units just survive. The medevacs, though, running so low on energy. Maru, you're gonna have to get on out of here as the lurker burrows up. Marauders are starting to go down. Baneling hit comes through. Maru finally gonna take a second here. But again, the lurker count hasn't been replenished. There's only a singular lurker out. Maru isn't able to stim forward to kill it. But the big difference in that fight, and right outside Maru's natural, was that the lurkers were getting shots off, but it was really not a lot of damage coming out from them because Maru had the great concave, and he was constantly pulling back just barely out of the lurker ranges. Here we go, Maru stimming in again, doesn't get the lurker. Widowmine's burrowing, though the shot is massive, as these connections are absolutely great for Maru. This has so much bio rallying across the map. It's 52 army supply to 88, and behind this, Maru has got his 5th base going onto location. He should be on an even economy right now with the Zerg, who's, only 9 workers ahead. So, no, an awkward position, Maru. A lot of his units stuck in those walls and unable to get on out. Finally, takes, I would say, a bad trade. Is going to back up across the map. That was an exhausting 2-minute fight there from both these players. Rogue's finally going to have time to just resupply, to re-drone up, to add on units again. But again, the lurker count, only 5 out. It was 11. I think it was actually, might have been even 13 that Rogue had when that first push came across, but lost all of them, and that is absolutely massive. But 3-3 is finished here for these lurkers, and so you don't want to run on in. Now the lurkers do a bit more damage. If you don't have the godlike split that Maru had in that first fight with all the lurkers, they will just shred through your bio. It's no question. 3-3 versus 3-3, the lurkers do so much damage. And Rogue is in fact going for a counterattack, and the Nidus network is gonna go down. Nidus Worm on into the main. There are a few units here to respond to it. A single Marine and Marauder, Maru says, is apt enough, but these Zerglings still getting damaged. 6 SCVs do end up falling. The Nidus Worm is denied. And the Nidus Worm is a good idea here from Rogue, of course. You want to try and be pulling Maru's attention to as many places as you can. You want to be trying to make sure that Maru can't just focus on one part of the map, because that's where he really starts to excel. Is when he can just micro one part of the map, and Maru's so good even when his army is split. And you do have the Nidus Worm going down right here outside of the 5th base. A few lurkers are inside. Maru does manage to scan it, but this low ground position is going to be very, very annoying to deal with, especially because you don't really have any tanks there quite yet to defend. I don't actually think Maru, has he been building any tanks? It's just been Widowmines and Bio. Maru has been playing the Clem style, and oh no, all of these lurkers just get collapsed on. The Nidus Worm was killed. You lose 5 lurkers as Rogue. And sure, you have gas to replenish those, but you can't really afford that. It's 5 base versus 5 base. 6 finally for Rogue. He finally got up a 6th. But you're not that far ahead in the worker count. You're only 10 ahead, 11 ahead. Of course, the Terran has mules. A lot of the energy is being used for scans, of course, so you're not going to be having any muling done by Maru. But here we go, another engagement coming on in. It's just Zerglings and Banelings trying to fight the bio, and that doesn't work the best. It's 3-3 bio. Those Zerglings, they don't have adrenal glands. They only have +2 melee attacks. They're not going to be able to do a lot of damage versus the Marauders, and Maru's taking a 50 supply lead suddenly. The Ghost Academy is finally going down, and I gotta say, I love how Maru is playing this. Again, it's just so focused on these tier 1 units. Like, Marine Marauder should never last this long against lurkers. But Maru's making it work. Maru's making it look almost easy to beat Ling Bane Lurker Hydra with just Marine Marauder Mine. It is absolutely insane as these medevacs going to look to get on out. Does manage to snipe the base. And another Night Swarm going to go down. The Vikings are there to try and help clean it up, and they should just be able to land. Yeah, there we go. Vikings do land. Ghosts also popping out. Maru good with the re-rallying. Make sure that none of these Night Swarms are going to go up. And Maru's been great at denying them. Still a 40 supply lead right now for the Terran. And Rogue hasn't been able to rebuild that lurker count. Right now sitting at 12. You know, this is finally the biggest critical mass that he's gotten of lurkers and should be able to take advantage of this position here on low ground. Maru immediately with the lift off is not even going to try and risk holding that. Again, Rogue right now, I believe, is... I mean, what is Rogue's economy, actually? The income for both these players is so low right now. Just because they almost have, I mean, 2 mined-out bases, half minerals on their 3rds and 4ths. And then it just means it's the 5th and 6th that's really mining. For Rogue, it's, you know, it's only 2.5 bases, maybe? But it's just so little economy as Rogue's trying to commit on in here. The initial snipes go down. They don't actually manage to get any of the lurkers, and the Baneling shots are pretty decent, where the Baneling hits. But it is a very, very large lurker ball that Rogue has finally been able to amass. But the ghosts are out, and this is where Maru really shines. I mean, Maru's late game Terran control is, I think, the best in the world. It is top class as Rogue trying to commit on it. Immediately the pickups onto the ghosts. Maru gets on out. You do have a burrowed lurker. This should be dealt with. Maru has a decent amount of scans. It's not a ton, though. Right now, it's only at 3 orbital command centers, so... You know, Maru is having to give up any sort of mule income just to be building, just to be scanning as often as he is. And that's where you're seeing the income difference right now. Especially when these little run-bys come by and Maru has to pull away from that one base. I mean, both these players are essentially on 1.5 bases. Like, looking at the minerals at the 4th, you know, the 3rds and the 4ths, this is almost 1 base versus 1 base. Rogue only has that 6th in the top left corner that's full on mineral patches. It's finally going to be trying to take another base. But we're getting, you know, we're 23 minutes into this game. You're having to start to take these outlier bases that are a lot harder to hold because you're having to spread your army so thin across the map. I mean, look at this spread of units by Maru. If Rogue was to commit to one spot and to find an opening, if Maru's just not fast enough with responding to the lurkers, you know, that could be game in this situation. Now, Maru still does have that 30 supply lead, and that really is going to be saving it. What is the ghost count looking at right now? 13 ghosts, 12 lurkers. Already a solid ghost count there for Maru, as he is actually going to be able to catch a Ling counterattack, or Ling little harassment here that's trying to run across the map. Surround not going to quite come through. But you finally have Rogue starting to look at that +3 melee attack for his Zerglings, recognizing the fact that gas is going to be a pretty precious resource here. And, ooh, I love this. Hold position lurkers. This is something that people have started doing recently, is just having a large clump of lurkers on a ramp. Hold position actually stops your lurkers from firing. Rogue will finally pull the trigger there because the missile turret was about to go down. But hold position does stop your lurkers from firing until you tell them to attack move. And it's a really cool move. Again, it can catch out so much bio if the Terran isn't ready for it. But Maru's already starting to get into turtle mode. And this is really what Maru does well, is it's constant pressure with the Marine Marauder, just being across the map, and then as soon as the game evens out, as soon as he has a little bit of a lead, it's not a comfortable one right now, he goes into turtle mode. 2 additional CCs going down. You have the missile turrets being built to make sure you can keep tabs on any hidden lurkers or on any sort of burrowed units across the map on his side of the map. And now that we're in this game, we're actually going to be seeing a split map, which is not usually what you see in these late game scenarios for TBZ. Usually it's the Zerg who's, you know, starting to take 3/4 of the map, sometimes, you know, up to that number. But no, it is Maru almost completely splitting it now. It is a bit dangerous right now for Maru to try and take that immediate 9 o'clock base. So you see he hasn't even risked trying to expand it there, as these Widowmine shots are actually pretty insane. Maru's going to bring over the rest of his units. Splits so far, I mean, decently well done, but loses 10 workers. Does lose quite a few Marines, and so Rogue probably pretty happy there with that trade, but the ghost count is continuing to climb. It's 15 ghosts right now. Again, you know, Maru is just so good at sitting back and just waiting for Rogue to make a mistake. He knows that right now the map is mining out, and that's going to favor the Terran in the long run, because Terran, they just trade more favorably. I mean, look at the resources lost. 9k minerals and, I mean, 4k gas. It is a lot. And so Maru's perfectly happy to be sitting back right now. He's going to be starting the Liberator production, and the ghost count being, I mean, even more ghosts than lurkers is so good, because it takes 2 snipes to kill a lurker. You want to have more ghosts than lurkers. If you can get up to a solid ghost count, then you are able to suddenly make these fights so much more convincing. The only worry I would say for Maru is that he doesn't have a lot of tanks, but I think it makes sense considering the fact that Rogue right now, of course, is still mainly on a Hydra Lurker army, and so he hasn't really wanted to add on a huge amount of tanks. Still is only on the 2 factories that were just used for Widowmine production. And we finally have Rogue going to be looking to take this 9 o'clock base. Again, this is one that Maru's not going to be able to take. It's one that's too far removed from this base on the right side, and so you're really not going to expand to it, as the Terran is, ooh, Maru trying to drag these lings into the Widowmine shots, but oh, Rogue dodges it beautifully. Rogue doesn't have adrenal glands. It's 3/3 lings, but they're actually not cracklings. Even though Rogue has the money, he does not have that adrenal glands upgrade, and it's actually a massive one to get, because it increases the DPS of your Zerglings by so much. As, oh, the snipes going down from Maru. Rogue just drops 30, 40 supply almost. And now even gonna look for snipes onto the drones. Maru just being very, very aggressive here with these ghosts. Has to back off now that that Spore Crawler has been replaced, and this is the annoying thing about not having tanks, is that you can't really push the Spore Crawlers to allow your ghosts to move forward. But even with that, I think Maru's army composition is pretty smart. You have a lot more bio than you probably normally would. This is to deal with the Ling Bane, because it's still such a heavy Ling Bane focus for Rogue. Even though Rogue has finally established, you know, these 3 proper mining bases, and you see that in the fact that he's mining almost 3k minerals a minute. Nuke tries to go down, but a good denial there by Rogue. But you do also have the Liberators added on for Maru, and that will stop the Zerg from pushing in, hopefully. But here we go. Rogue is just going to run on in. He says, you're out of position. He's absolutely right. Pulls the trigger as soon as he notices that Maru's army backs away. EMPs on to the Vipers. Get all of that energy down. Now Snipe's looking to go down, but these ghosts, you can't be too aggressive with them, or else Rogue will just collapse. It's Ling Bane trying to run on through. 30 minutes into the game. Is Rogue going to look for a killing move here? The ghosts, they're so close to being run over. A Widowmine shot, though, gets so many kills. This choke point by Maru, absolutely beautiful. Ling Bane gonna retarget into the 5th base. 20 workers go down. Burrowed Banelings set on down for the future, and Rogue takes a solid engagement there. That's what Rogue has needed for the past, I mean, almost 10 minutes. We're 30 minutes into this game. Rogue has finally really found a solid trade. And now you have Rogue, you know, 1.5k minerals saved up, almost equal on that gas. Ooh, these lurkers will go down, though. Wait, Rogue's lurker count is so low. Did Rogue lose all of his lurkers in that fight? Oh, I think Rogue lost all of his lurkers. Maru's just gonna keep pushing. There are no lurkers on the map for Rogue. They all died. I didn't even notice that in the chaos of the Banelings rolling in. Maru targets them down. Now Rogue's suddenly dropping his supply. He doesn't have the lurkers. And again, Ling Bane, it's good. But Maru has just been constantly building bio to deal with it. And you don't have adrenal glands. It's, you know, that just means that the Zerglings themselves don't do a lot of damage. This is so bad for Rogue. Maru's suddenly 40 supply in the lead. This is absolutely insane. It felt like Rogue might have found enough damage, but he lost so much there. And now it's going to be Maru looking to just hold on one more time. The supplies are dropping. Banelings are rolling in. The base goes down, but there's still so much army left for Maru. And he's going to start parade pushing across this map. 160 supply to 117. 30 minutes into this game, Rogue goes for the jugular. And it ends up biting him. 10 lurkers on the way. This is Rogue's last hope. It's his last chance, really, to get into a solid position this game. They're now equal on the mining bases and the minerals available to them. Maru does see that more lurkers have been added on with that scan. This is such a crazy game. Back and forth. Maru, 40 supply in the lead now. 120 army supply to 75. And that's where the supply difference is at. And that's worrisome for the Zerg. Especially when you're even on workers. Here we go. Snipe's going to go down immediately. 4 lurkers in the red. They don't die, though. The abducts were good, but more ghosts are still alive. What is there left for Rogue? It's not a lot. Snipe's going down. Pew, pew, pew. The lurkers will fall, as does Rogue supply. The counterattack onto one of the 2 mining bases that Rogue has. More snipes. Ghost just straight up fighting the banelings. The detonation does not go right. Maru snipes down the lurkers. Maru gets the victory in game number 4. With that being said, we're on to Blackburn, and this is a map that always seems to pop up. I think Blackburn and Lightshade are the 2 maps that usually will always make it into almost every best of 5. Best of 3s, you'll always see Lightshade. And then, of course, in the best 7, you're going to be playing all the maps, so it is here. But it's the map that the players are the most comfortable with. It's a map that players are really just the most familiar with, which is why you do see it in the best of 5s over a map like Pride of Altaris, which is just big. It's very big, and I don't think players have really kind of figured out how they feel about it just quite yet, which is completely understandable. Now, you do have Maru, just going to try to be a little bit annoying here. Again, delaying anything from the Zerg is good. Just going to force that drone actually just to morph, as he did get the first shot off. And was that a bunker? No. Okay, that's just... Okay, yeah. So, does just pop down the bunker. He's going to actually be using that to slow down this third base. Usually for the Zerg, you want the third base to go down right around 230. You see Rogue already has the money for it. That's not going to happen, though, as this Reaper has found 2 kills, actually. That's that's very good value there from Maru, delaying this third base. And our Rogue is going to be walking down the Queen, is doing the little dance with the extractor where you have to constantly cancel and then remorph the drone so the Reaper doesn't kill it and you can still properly survive. Finally, Rogue should be able to clean up the bunker and get this drone morphed. Oh, that drone! Maru doesn't want to commit on in. That's a solid, I mean, hey, 45-second delay or so on the third base for Maru. You'll absolutely take that any day of the week as the Terran. And behind it, it is just going to be two Hellions. This is just your standard opener here. I imagine it might be Banshee to follow. No Tech Lab, though, for a Banshee. So possibly just 4 Hellions and a Medevac looking for like an elevator play on into the main base. No, Maru. It didn't work the first time. I know you won the Berlingrad game, but it wasn't because of the Hellbat attack. It wasn't. It was dealt with so handedly. Oh. Terran players, and I am saying this as a Terran player, for some reason, we just want to make these Hellbat timing attacks work. They just don't. They 10% of the time they do, but they just don't usually work out. Now, what does Rogue have? Does have a few queens out. There's not a serious ling count, only 8 lings. So there's actually a chance that this does get some damage done. Even if it's not worker kills, perhaps some queens. Definitely going to get rid of those lings. Maru, let's see how much he can do. Did have a supply lock there on Rogue, so there's not going to be no additional lings joining this defense force until a bit later, as that first queen bleeding very, very low. The second one going to be focused down. Does end up falling. More lings trying to rally on in. They're going to get roasted up. Second queen falls. Maru looking to get a third, but it's pulled back. Has to pick up and get on out. And I mean, it's damage for sure. Damage for sure for Maru. It's probably not as much damage as you would like, considering what Maru has committed to it. Again, you know, you're committing the armory, all the Hellions. It slows you down quite a bit. Quite a bit. The Banshee is going to be the follow-up, so Maru is going to be attempting to apply pressure across the map, using Banshees, of course, and trying to see if he can get at least a few worker kills, hopefully. Well, let's see how it goes. Maru's Banshee control usually has been, I think, pretty good this series. But again, Rogue, I mean, just defends it very well. Even has a Spore Crawler up at the front in case Maru was looking to do a second kind of follow-up on that Hellbat attack where you walk more in, this time with the Banshees to try and get more Queen kills. Rogue just covering all of his bases and has the Baneling Nest on the way. And Maru has the third CC finishing up, and it's actually 4 racks being added on, just not 2. Or not just 2. So he's going to be looking for, I mean, very, very heavy, I imagine, 3 base pressure. Banshees. Ooh, don't quite get the Queen. We'll be able to start to one-shot these drones. Ooh, one of them surviving with orange hit points. Maru can't get another one. Oh, the Banshee even goes down. Not really what Maru wants, is the Hellbat's going to try and walk on in. Banelings and the Queen's able to push it back, and it's going to be a Spire on the way for Rogue, which I do like. Rogue here, again, trying to stave off the 4-1. Your opponent's on match point. Well, go back to what worked. Game 1, Rogue went for the Spire. It worked extremely well. So why not run it back? And I absolutely think this is the right call here for Rogue. He's taken, I mean, very minimal early game damage right now. 5 drones have gone down, and he's actually been trading pretty decently, as we do have Lings. Gonna be sharking around here at the third base. Maru has a decent Marine count. Should be able to fight this off without any real issue. Also has Stim Pack done already. As there we go, Stim back. Workers being brought around to fight it. Hellbats are trying to see if they can get really anything done at that 4th base, but it's just not going to happen as Rogue, I mean, really just undisturbed this game, and already has 9 mutas on the way. Has centrifugal hooks for the Baneling speed. Has even the 2nd Evo chamber. It's working on the ground carapace, but will be able to start up ground melee attacks as well. Really just feels like Rogue in this game. Again, stops the Hellbat attack. The Banshees don't get a lot of damage, and one of them even dies. Just has really everything going his way right now. He's going to be pushing across the map. Our missile turret's already in position, so I don't think Rogue will really be able to find his way on in. A snipe on the combat shields would be nice, though, if he's able to get it. Instead, just focusing onto the workers. It's 2 SCVs already. There is, ooh, no missile turret there in the natural. Is one at the 3rd, though, so he's not going to be able to dive too far in. And so far, I mean, 4 SCV kills, it is pretty acceptable for Maru. You're not going to be really too mad about, you know, 4, 5 going down. Ooh, 6 doesn't fall. As Maru starts up his 4th base right in front of Rogue, but I mean, behind this, what's Maru able to do across the map? It's nothing. You know, even though Rogue doesn't kill Maru with the Mutalisk like he was in game 1, or he was able to do in game 1, you know, Rogue's just stuck. Rogue doesn't have anything going, or Maru doesn't have anything going on. Maru has to sit back at his base. He can't push out, because if he does, Rogue's going to dive on him with the Mutalisk, and Maru knows that he hasn't done enough damage to really force, to really have a massive army. Is both Banshee actually going to be able to get a decent amount of damage? Rogue not pulling back all the drones. 5, oh, not 6, but 5 go down for that low health Banshee. And 2-2 is on the way for Maru. He's going to have that advantage in upgrades. Seeing that Rogue did go for the mutas, if it is just straight Ling Bane, you will have actually even upgrades with the Terran. When you're adding on the massive Mutalisk flock, you will be delayed on your upgrade timing, but you are, of course, making up for that in the fact that you got Mutts, and they're going to be hanging around. Maru perfectly prepared, though, in the main to make sure that they don't get any more damage done. And 2 Corruptors actually being added in here from Rogue, which definitely is a bit strange. I don't see what the Corruptors are exactly going to do. There are no Liberators out just yet, so I have to imagine that was a miss hotkey input there from Rogue, as Maru is getting his Thors up, drilling claws +1 armor plating, of course, to make the Thors a bit more tanky. When you have Thors and Widowmines out, you do just want the plating. It makes the Widow Mines a lot stronger. It makes it so they can't get focused down as easily, and also it means that the Thors, well, they're going to take a lot of Baneling hits, and that's what you need them to do, because the Thors will actually automatically target air units if they're in range, and so they will be focusing down the Mutalisks while also just standing at the front and absorbing those Baneling hits if Rogue does not move command his Banelings through. That's +2/+2 started up for the Ling Bane. Rogue also working on +1 Flyer Carapace as well. Already has the attack upgrade, but going for Carapace second is definitely interesting, as you have the Hydralisk Den already on the way. So Rogue is preparing to transition out of the Mutalisks, but still getting that upgrade. I do find that it's interesting. But it does make the Mutalisks more tanky. It will give them a bit more survivability, especially against the +0 Thors. Now Maru is going to be pushing on out here into the middle of the map to try and clear up some creep. It's a bit dangerous, though. I mean, Rogue is... Both players actually are maxed out here. Ooh, Maru, are you a bit too far forward? Looking to try and kite it back. Thor has to be picked on up as the Widow Mine shots so far not the best. There we go. Finally get some good connections, but there's so many Banelings here for Rogue. He's just going to roll on through. And sure, he's trading army for army, but is able to completely clean up a lot of the bio for Maru, who's knocked down to 140 supply. And behind this, Rogue is taking his 6th base, has the Lurker Den on the way, and will be able to finish up his 2/2 for his Ling Bane. As it's Hydralisk on the way, no rebuilding of the Mutalisks, which again, it makes me wonder why the Carapace upgrade comes through, but I don't think it matters too much. Rogue right now is in a great spot, sitting 5 bases to 4, about to be 6 to 4. And Maru just hasn't been able to get across the map. Again, every one of these last 3 games, Maru has been able to win by being across the map, by being aggressive, by constantly applying pressure. With this Mutalisk opener, Maru just hasn't been able to do that. Maru has been completely stuck. As, ooh, Widow Mine shot. Rogue not grouping up his Mutalisks into a clump before trying to focus it down. As these Lings trying to see what they can get done, but Maru able to push it back. And +3 Carapace already on the way for Rogue. It's going to be for both the Ling Bane and now the added on Lurkers, as another Widow Mine shot goes off. That's another Mutalisk that does end up falling. Didn't quite need to. But Lurkers are on the way. Seismic Spines is being researched for that +1 range. Adaptive Talons, of course, is the Speed Burrow upgrade. That is going to be second here for Rogue. And really the only difference that you see in that upgrade path is that, remind, Ling's trying to commit on in. They should have to back on up, though. Maru, let's take a decent trade there. Has Ghosts already out, of course. But the reason why you see players change whether they upgrade Adaptive Talons or Seismic Spines first is really just stylistic. If you are going to be playing safe with the Lurkers and just using them to harass like Rogue is here now at the gold, then Seismic Spines is actually a great upgrade because it gives you that extra range. And now you can see outside the tank range, these Lurkers have a lot more ability to do stuff. As, oh, the snipes go down. Muta's committed in for a tank, but loses quite a few of them. But he's just stopping mining at this gold, which is so important. And now Adaptive Talons will be started up, which means that Rogue can be a lot more aggressive with the... Oh, those Banelings! A massive connection. The Nidus network was trying to go down in the main, but that gets cleaned on up. But as soon as these Lurker upgrades are done, you're going to see Rogue start to be a lot more aggressive. And already, even without it, he thinks he has the ability to go on in. Snipes go down onto the Lurkers. There's good Sim City here with the tanks, but there's so many Banelings coming out from Rogue. And he's just going to roll them on through. Ghosts go down. The mineral line is now in danger as it's 37 workers falling. And Rogue suddenly takes a 50 supply lead. Also takes a 7th base. CC is, of course, surviving. You have +2 vehicle weapons on the way for these tanks, which will, of course, be the counter to the Lurkers eventually, but Maru has just been losing so much army in these past few engagements. I mean, even looking at the resources lost, it's only 4K minerals and 2.5K gas. It's not a massive amount considering the fact that Rogue is 7 bases to 5. Considering the fact that Rogue right now is maxed out once again, the Lurker's gonna burrow in. That's more tanks that are gonna go down. Maru's gonna try and hold it, but the Baneling's rolling on in. Get some massive connections there onto the worker line. The base is gonna go down. Rogue finding insane damage against an already crippled Maru who has just been stuck on his half of the map for the entirety of game number 5. +3 melee attacks are on the way. Ranged upgrades finally going to be coming through for these lurkers, which just makes them that much more dangerous. I mean, that on top of the 80 supply lead makes the lurkers pretty good. As more tanks are going to go down, and that's just not losses that you can really take as Maru. I mean, at this point, again, Rogue has played a masterful game. The Mutalisk opener looks so solid. The follow-up into the lurkers was just perfectly timed, and he kept Maru in his own side of the map. And it's just been Rogue. Utter domination in this game. And hey, Widowmine gets a good shot. Rogue doesn't really care though. He says, listen, I got a lot of Zerglings. I might not have adrenal glands, but these units, they're good. They're gonna do all that I need them to as he cleans up tanks, pushes on in. Still, of course, has, I mean, the main brunt of his army, which is the lurkers just hanging out. And he's getting so much damage here. Should be able to start to get onto the workers. He's cleaning up supply depots. Not that Maru was really ever probably going to use those supply depots. And it's just so hard for, I mean, Maru to even clean up this small group of lings. It's crazy. As another tank is looking to go down, stands. We'll clean up, hey, 3 lurkers. But, if this base goes down again, that might just be it. I don't think there's really much Maru can do. It's a 3k bank in both minerals and gas for Rogue. The base is blown up, and just units are being burrowed absolutely everywhere. Rogue, he knows how he needs to end this game. He knows how he needs to close it out, and he's doing it wonderfully. The scan doesn't even get all of the Zerglings. And Rogue, he's held on. He's gonna force a game 6. GG. We're going to game number 6. And we're on the Glittering Ashes. It's a large map. And honestly, the only thing that I want from this map is for Rogue to go Mutas again, because his Muta play has gotten him 2 wins. It has looked so solid. I feel like it would almost be throwing if Rogue did not go for Mutas again. And I think Rogue knows that. Right now, it looks like the best opener for him. It looks like the opener that Maru is having the most trouble dealing with. So I say you run it back. And we'll see if Rogue does, in fact, end up doing that. But game 6, I mean, again, Rogue, he's just trying to stave it off. Last time, in Azus Rog, actually, there's almost the exact same scenario as what happened. In Azus Rog, though, it was Maru up 2-1. Rogue ties it up, and then Maru wins the next 2. This time, Rogue is having to fight Maru at match point, but it could be the very same scoreline even. It could actually be another 4-2 is possible, which would be very interesting. If they face off in the finals twice, and both times it's the same score. We'll see. Glittering Ashes, it's a map that a lot of Terrans I think have actually kind of been liking. At least from what I can tell sometimes, is that the pushability, especially of the third bases, is definitely there. It's difficult, but if you get into a good position, you can just constantly push on those ramps. And because they're so small, it's hard for the Zerg to really force you out. And so you can constantly be chipping away at the Zerg units. I mean, I'm thinking especially of seeing Clem play TVZ on this map. And even TVP, where he just constantly pushes on those ramps, even though it feels counterintuitive. And so we'll see if Maru kind of takes a note out of that book. Maru has been mixing up the play very, very well. I mean, he's gone for just straight bio tank. He's gone for bio mine. Has been trying to mix in the Thors as response to the Mutalisks. It hasn't quite worked out just yet, as Rogue did take that last game. But, you know, had the right response. Now this game, it is just going to be, hey, some Hellions. So, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed that this is not a Hellbat opening. Please, Maru, save my poor Terran heart and soul, and don't do another Hellbat attack. So hopefully we will just be seeing a regular opener here from Maru. And with the tech lab coming down at the barracks, that is what that implies. That means you're going to be swapping that on over. and you're going to be, in fact, building Cloak Banshees, which I generally have been liking. You know, the Cloak Banshees last game didn't do all that much, but they were a lot later. They were very delayed, and so Rogue had a lot more defenses up than he would again, for the regular timing. So we'll see how these do end up doing. So we're just going to be pushing out with the 4 Reapers, or the 4 Hellions and a Reaper. And we're seeing what you can poke around for. That is going to be a free Morphing Creep Tumor, obviously very, very worthwhile early on. And Maru's going to try and dive on in here. Does manage to get by the legs. Queens are in position. 1 Hellion will go down, but still 3 alive, meaning they can start to roast up these drones. 4 go down, looking for a 5th, maybe more, a 6th. 6 drones for 4 Hellions and a Reaper. I mean, I would say that's pretty worthwhile, especially this early in the game for Maru. Sure, you are giving up your early map control. The Hellions are your way to try and deny creep tumors and to really keep a tab on the queen count and where the Zerg is. But even with that 6 drones, I mean, it means that right now Maru is only behind about 5 or so workers. 4 minutes into the game, especially when the Zerg is taking a third, is trying to just drone up as much as possible. That's like absolutely massive. And we are going to have the first Banshees even coming across the map. So here we go. Cloaking Field almost finished up. Maru gonna reassess going on with that natural base with the Spore Crawlers done. Also tries to poke around with those 2 Hellions. Let's see how much damage these Banshees can do. This is really where we're going to see the first real tell of how this game will go is these Banshees as Maru already got 1 drone. Looking for a second. Controlling it very nicely. There's only a single queen here in the main. Finally, more being brought up, but 4 drones off the bat. A good start. This is about as much as you want to allow, though, if you're Rogue. Again, you know it's Banshees. You have Spores and Queens in each base. You shouldn't really lose too much more than 4, maybe 6 with 2 Banshees out. So you absolutely have to try your hardest here to defend. As Maru's going to go into the second Banshee now. Just outside the range of the Spore Crawler. Only gets 1. Gonna loop it around. Grabs a second. 6 workers. It's starting to decent damage. As once again the Hellions looking to go on in. Gonna have to back on out as the Zergling's gonna come for this round. And so far Maru, decent damage in this early game, but let's look at the follow-up because it is a bit interesting. Once again, Maru is doing the Hardwire build. This is 2 racks before the CC, while he's also gonna be microing these Banshees now, looking for even more worker kills. Ooh, Rogue not responding. 8 in total having gone down now. And behind this, I mean, look at it. It's actually 1-1 for Maru. It's even different than the build he did last time. Sorry. He did go the 3rd CC. 2 racks after the 3rd CC. Immediately into double engineering bay. +1/+1 after the stim. Or midway through the stim, because your combat shield is going to now finish up a little bit quicker. It'll finish up right around your 1-1 timing. And Maru's going to be looking for a very strong attack with Widow Mines. All this behind this Banshee pressure, which has actually been getting damage. Has 2 more workers going down. Even a 3rd? No, a 4th. Maru. 18 workers to this early game pressure. And the Banshees get out. That is insane amounts of damage. Maru doing a great job here in this early game, and now you do have the 8 Mutalisks on the way for Rogue. So it was the Spire that has been placed down behind all of this. Rogue looking to try and just, again, go for the Spire. I think it's great. If he can keep Maru from pushing out with this Bio Force, then he can absolutely start to get into a comfortable economic position, but the Mutalisks aren't out just yet, and the Banshees are actually going to stop the Zerglings from committing on into the base. And Maru's just pushing. Again, he has +1/+1. He has combat shields. Maru is going to look for this timing. I don't even know if he knows there's Mutalisks, but I don't think Maru cares because he has such a strong timing. But look at this. I mean, there's already missile turrets in the mineral lines. Rogue, what are you going to do? Are you going to come back and defend this 4th? Or are you going to commit on in? Rogue says he's going to commit on in. He's going to look for this round on his first batch of Marines. Should be able to get it. As the Mutalisks and the Zerglings going on in. That's a very exposed 3rd base, but Rogue, he's going for the natural. Loses his 4th, but he's going to look to try and get damage as the missile turret is the target. The repairs going down. The Zerglings, though, trying to get damage done. Is it not enough? The repairs are absolutely massive. And the Marines coming on through. Maru's continuing to push at the front. Rogue is losing so much. His supply is dipping. And Maru finds incredible damage. 2 Mulists do end up going down. It's not a ton, but already double the minerals lost. Triple the gas lost here for Rogue. It's just these early game trades, but losing that much this early. And again, I mean, you killed a few workers. It wasn't a ton though. It was only, what, 10 workers? When there was a completely exposed third base to go for. Now Rogue trying to go on in. Oh, the splits from Maru are so good. Is now going to be splitting up this Marine force, just trying to poke around, keeping plenty back in case the Banelings do commit in. But I feel like Rogue there, it was a misstep. He should have gone for the third, just clean that up and, you know, force a liftoff even maybe. But he went for the natural. He tried to get, you know, even more damage. He risked it for more damage, and it just did not work out as Maru just continuing to press with this ramp. Finally, the Banes are going to roll in. They get a good connection against that batch of Marines, but there's even more where that came from. Maru rallying everything across the map here to try and just do as much damage as possible. The 4th base has been reestablished behind this, and 1-1 is on the way for Rogue, but that 1-1 is so late. That 1-1 is not going to be done by the time 2-2 is finished. If not, I mean, if not 2-2 finishing first. And that would be massive for Maru if he has a quadruple upgrade advantage. A double is already, you know, big enough when you're working with Ling Bane. Here we go, the surround coming out from Rogue. He's looking to clean it all up. The Mind Drag is beautiful. The medevacs are gonna go down. And Rogue finally is gonna be able to breathe as he cleans up Maru's army. But again, the 2-2 upgrades coming through here from Maru. The Thor, he's looking to do it again. He's looking to get the 4-2 once again against Rogue. Unless Rogue can find some damage here with this counterattack, has plenty of Banelings. Doesn't think he can go on into that third. Now going to try and go around, see if he can find any opening in Maru's defense, but there's just so many Widow Mines. Maru's too good. Oh, pulling back the Marines, the Widow Mine shots. Barely anything dies there for Maru. Cleans up a large group of Banelings. And look at Rogue's gas. I mean, he's not really able to rebuild a large Mulist flock right now. It's sitting at 18. It's a really healthy number. He's going to be getting up to 24, but that's it. It's not going to be a lot of Banelings either. And I mean, Maru has Thors, has Widow Mines, has a 2 upgrade advantage. He's going to look to make it 3. This +3/+3 have started up for Maru. Only +3 Carapace is on the way for Rogue, because he needed his gas to get +2 flyer attacks. And pneumaticized Carapace on the way for that Overlord speed. Rogue, might have an opening here at the 4th base. I mean, actually, it's 77 workers to 72. Maru's so far ahead right now. Rogue needs to find damage here. Is finally gonna be okay. 5 workers. Also has a link counterattack coming on into the 3rd base at the same time. Cleans up the missile turret at the natural. This is the damage that Rogue needs. Absolutely crucial that Rogue found just some damage here. Oh, the Widow Mine doesn't quite go off. Marines are going to get cleaned up. No Mulists end up dying, but 13 SCVs go down. That was, I mean, a massive for Rogue. Again, Maru was up on workers, and even now, you know, it's still just about, 15 worker difference? Maru's already fully saturated on 4 bases, but at least Rogue was able to at least slow him down by some amount. But it's this 3-3 is the really worrisome part. If Maru pushes with 3-3, Rogue, there's going to be just the slightest opening where Rogue does not have 2-2, and that 4 upgrade difference is actually just it makes almost any skirmish unwinnable with Ling Bane, as long as Maru is at least watching his units. And this is where it gets very, very scary for Rogue. You need more time to try and restabilize, and I don't know if he's going to get that. I don't know if he's going to get it. Marauders are being added on to help deal with the Banelings. Of course, the Thors and the Widow Mines are being continued to be produced alongside that +1 vehicle plating. Or vehicle and ship plating, actually. It does also help the medevacs. As Mulists going to look to try and find their way into their main. There might not be much here just yet, actually. Missile turret will definitely go down. It's going to stop Maru from pushing out. There's a few more SCV kills. Magic box. Nope, Marines are here. Rogue going to have to get on away, but look at that 3-3. Now it is lined up a bit better than it was looking for Rogue. So he will have his Carapace finishing up at the same time, and the armor and the ground attack as well should be lined up nicely here for Rogue, but it's just straight Ling Bane. Again, it's 3-3 bio. The damage output increase with 3-3 upgrades for Marine Marauder is just absolutely insane. And now Maru's going to look for a push. Maru, he's going to look to try and end the game here. I mean, he just has such a strong army. 127 army supplied to 84. Rogue's going to look for a counterattack, though, and if he can find it, he can absolutely get some damage, but all that Widowmine hit, you can't allow that. Baneling's just rolling on into Marauders. More Marauders joining in. The Marines are just going to back on up. And, I mean, what are you supposed to hit with the Banelings? Marauders? Rogue doesn't want to do that. You just see how little damage it does. Maru's continuing to rally across the map now. And what can Rogue do? He has Mutalisks, but they're across the map. Rogue, he's indecisive. He doesn't know if he has enough to try and defend. And so he needs to go for counterattack damage. But even that is not the best because there's so much here for Maru, who's exploding in supply. Rogue is falling. Maru looking to make it back-to-back. Looking to beat Rogue twice in a row in grand finals, 4-2 both times. I don't think Rogue has enough. He's camping the production, but it does not matter because Maru is on the bases. Maru is closing on in, and Maru, with that, cleaning up the Banelings. It's just Queens. His bio is still here. Rogue, there's not much left. GG! Maru's gonna take it.